My lords, I thank the noble Earl and Minister for his response, and all the noble peers have taken part in this debate. Now, the noble lady Baroness Noakes suggested that what's covered in this amendment is actually a core function of the Treasury. I would say that's very much not the case. The Treasury is, of course, a definition of the establishment, part of the government. This is an outside oversight independent body. And the noble lady Baroness Noakes also said that Parliament takes a keen interest in financial regulation. Well, I think that that conclusion can be questioned if you look down the list of speakers right through the progress of the debate on this bill, and you contrast it, for example, to the list of speakers for the domestic abuse bill. Now, the noble lady Baroness Noakes also said, well, we can see the current model working out. Well, as the noble Lord Seeker again powerfully pointed out, we very much can. And one of the big issues is the revolving door between business and government. It's an issue well beyond the financial sector, but it's particularly an issue in the financial sector. There are far too many stakeholders in the financial sector who are ignored, who are not so much not having access to that revolving door, not quite even on the other side of the street, more in an entirely different suburb altogether. Now, the noble lady Baroness Noakes also questioned the negative impact of the financial sector on the UK economy and said that the view that that's the case may not be widely shared in this House. I'd agree with that. But there is actually multiple global studies that have their own label for too much finance literature, which is very extensive, very wide-ranging, and comes from highly respected sources. Now, I thank the noble lady Baroness Kramer for her, again, very useful and helpful contribution and her reflections on her experience with the Parliamentary Commission on Banking Standards, having to beg and borrow to find staff. I think it's clear we need a continuing structure with staff having the time to develop expertise over years or even decades, not an occasional ad hoc arrangement, a point the noble lady Baroness Kramer went a long way to making, although I very much agree with her focus on the need for more parliamentary resources. Now, I thank the noble Lord Tunnicliffe for stressing the need to strengthen research and also for his understanding and detailed attention to the process of this amendment. Like the noble Lord Seeker, he reflected on the impact of the financial sector on the real economy, something I think we've made real progress in highlighting in the debates on this bill. Now, the noble Lord the Minister pointed to our current procedures and outlined them very clearly. But I think any suggestion that these are adequate, given our current state, I would respectfully submit, does not stand up. And the noble Earl noted that the EU Finance Watch was set up in a network mixed funding kind of model, indeed, but what got the ball rolling was EU funding, something I know quite a bit about since the European Greens were at the forefront. And the noble Earl suggested that we have universities and institutions, think tanks, and indeed granting bodies that might, off their own bat, create something like this. Well, I would suggest that in the age of austerity, with our universities really struggling with their current financial model, we simply don't have the resources available in the UK for that to happen. Now, the noble Earl also referred to the FPC and its role in macroeconomic oversight. And I would see Finance Watch covering those kind of issues, but also getting deep into the weeds of detail, which I don't believe that the FPC does. Nonetheless, I think we've had very useful debates through the progress of this bill. We mightn't have made actual legislative progress, but we are, I hope, highlighting these issues to a broader range of people, drawing them to attention to a broader range of stakeholders. And I very much hope that in future finance bills, we'll see a much broader range of stakeholders and members of your Lordship's House engaged in these debates. But in the meantime, I beg leave to withdraw the amendment.